Hey everybody, today's video is how to pray the Rosary step by step without rosary beads, using the fingers and landmarks on the hands, on both hands, to pray the Rosary. Now I know that there are step-by-step ways to pray the Rosary with the beads, but when you think about it, sometimes you'll be in a place where you might not have brought your rosary with you, or maybe even if you did, even if you have your rosary in your pocket or your purse, you're sitting there thinking, man, I don't know if I can bring this thing out and start praying in this particular situation, because I don't know what they're going to think. They might think I'm slacking off or I'm not paying attention or something. But the thing is, if you don't pray the Rosary, you'd just be sitting there wasting time, and you just want to be devoted all day long, all times and all places. So this is a step, how to pray the Rosary step by step, with this added freedom of using the fingers and landmarks of the hands. And that means being able to pray in situations and places and conditions where you might not even be able to otherwise pray. So see if you don't think this is the coolest thing ever. We're going to use both hands, right? And so step by step, the left hand is the decades hand. The first step is that we hold this position for the beginning and for the first decade. Then this is where the second decade is prayed. This is where the third decade is prayed, the fourth decade, and the fifth decade. So step by step, you've learned every one of those rosary hand positions for all 5 decades on the left hand. And don't worry about it, we're going to review this in just a minute. The next step, the right hand is the counting hand. So we do the Apostles' Creed right here, and then we do the Our Father, and then 3 Hail Marys, 1, 2, 3. And next we do the Glory Be and the Oh My Jesus. And now we're going to be doing the first decade. So you'll remember that this first position is not only for that beginning part that we just finished, but also for the first decade. So it can just stay as it is on this left decade's hand. And we'll do the first decade now. So we pray the Our Father, right? No, before we do the Our Father, the next step is to do the first mystery. So we do that right here. And then we do the Our Father in this very same position. And now we're going to do 10 Hail Marys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Each of these is prayed over a joint crease, so that makes it easy. We've just done the 10 Hail Marys, and we do Hail Holy Queen right there, and Oh My Jesus right in the same place. Now we'll be starting the second decade, so the next step is we just move the thumb to this second decade position. And if we get confused as to what decade we're on, we just look at this and we can know, okay, this is the second position. So we'll do the second decade. So this one arrives in this location at the same time that on the right counting hand, this right thumb arrives at the place of the mysteries. You see, so they move and arrive together. Second decade, so second mystery. Then the Our Father, and then 10 Hail Marys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Glory be, O my Jesus. And then we do the third decade right there. The third mystery, the Our Father, 10 Hail Marys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The Glory be, the O my Jesus. The fourth decade's prayed right there. Fourth mystery, fourth Our Father, 10 Hail Marys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The Glory be, the O my Jesus. And now we'll do the fifth decade. So the fifth one just returns to that first place, that first location. And I like to think of like the Alpha and the Omega, or as it was in the beginning, so is now and ever shall be. So basically the beginning and concluding place is the same on this left decade's hand. And we'll just keep it this way for the entire rest of what we're doing. So you've learned the left hand really well. And now for the fifth decade, we do the fifth mystery, the Our Father, and then the 10 Hail Marys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The Glory be, the O my Jesus. This just stays where it's been as we do the Hail Holy Queen and the concluding prayer, Eternal Father, whose only begotten Son, by his life, death, and resurrection, that entire prayer. And the cool thing is, you'll remember that we had 10 Hail Marys, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The seventh one is done at the same place. It's both the beginning place and the ending place. And 7 is the number of completion. You think of the days of creation, the world was created in 7 days. So that's pretty cool the way that is. And then also, I think it's really cool that all the mysteries and all the Our Fathers are prayed in the exact same place, and that it's a central place, emphasizing the importance of holding to the center. And I think it's cool that the thumb approximates the shape of a cross in this position, because you have the plane of this joint crease and the plane of the end of the thumb as they approximate each other. It's not squared up as perfectly as a cross could be, but it's supposed to be comfortable and relaxed and reminiscent of a cross. And now the step-by-step way to practice this in a mystical way, if you like the mystical Christian tradition, it's related to that idea of where two or more are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. It commonly means that where 2 or more believers are gathered, then God's presence will be in the midst of them. But it's also possible to use the frame of the human body in worship, to actually use the frame of the body as a tool to establish the equivalent of an old-fashioned scale or a yoke. You remember that verse that says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light, or even a mystical cross. And how is that done? Well, besides that it's possible to gather 2 or more believers and have God's presence in the midst of them, it's also possible using the frame of the human body in this way to gather a point on the right and a point on the left, and then to practice in such a way as to abide in the midst of them without leaning. And because as soon as you start to lean, having established the scale, you'll immediately know that you've leaned, and you'll know how to bring it back. And don't forget that there is real value of abiding in the place that does not miss the mark when you think about it, There's that story of Mary and Martha where Jesus had shown up, and Mary and Martha were both there. When Jesus showed up, Mary just stayed right there with him, right smack dab in front of him. But Mary, loving Jesus, but Martha, loving Jesus as much as she did, she thought, man, we got all this stuff to get ready. We have food to cook, we got to get everything set, everything ready. So she had all these intermediate sub-steps and hoops to jump through, all this toiling and spinning that needed to be completed before she could do what Mary was simply doing. And so Martha said to Jesus, she said something like, Jesus, will you please tell Mary to just quit sitting there and come over here and help me, because we got all this stuff we have to get ready. And Jesus said, Mary has chosen the one good thing. And similarly, in this kind of practice, the world can, as you sit there and pray the Rosary, in the midst of all this variety of apparent change, not just in the external world around you, but from one hand position to another, through it all, there's a place of not leaning, which can be held to, which can be chosen as a place that doesn't miss the mark, as the one good thing. So, with each new, unique presentation of life's changes, of the world changing around you, with each invitation, with each presentation is an invitation to go outward, to miss the mark, to go out into the world toiling and spinning. You'll be practicing and you'll think, oh, I have to go do that now. And that's departing from holding to this one good thing to do something that would be the equivalent of what Martha would have been doing. So real devotion is to, I think this is a really great way to practice, because without establishing this kind of a scale of gathering 2 points and knowing what is in the midst of them, the world is just so fluid and changing and all that. How are you going to know if you're even, as the scripture says, abide in me? How do you know that you're even doing that, you know? And so this gives you a way that at the very first arrival of various invitations to depart outwardly, you can recognize it early, and you can hold in devotion, in stillness, in simply without leaning, in the place that doesn't miss the mark. And it is a really straight and narrow place, the way I look at it, because when you think of how straight and how narrow is the place between right and left, between opposites, you know, just as straight and narrow as can be. It's just, it's really cool. So that, I like to think of it as the place between right and left as corresponding to the vertical axis of a mystical cross. And that's the place between opposites, right? And also the place between too high and too low. There's a place between those that doesn't miss the mark, that's just right. And that may correspond to the horizontal arm of the cross. And so each of us, we can take up our own cross in this way and follow me. And as the question says, lovest thou me more than these? If so, how are you going to express it in your devotional practice? And so I think even if it doesn't quite match the way you've practiced in the past, there is this concept of be still and know that I am God. And if you can establish this yoke. Like it says, my yoke, the yoke of my yoke is easy. My burden is light. Why? Because you have this scale or this cross which you've taken up. And you can practice when you're sitting and praying the rosary. And actually, you can practice not just when you're sitting, when you're walking and moving around in life too. And I did a few more articles on that on my website called PrestonFlatt.com. But you can also find the videos on it too on this channel. So that's kind of a step-by-step way of this really cool way of accessing the ability to pray the rosary anytime, any place, even when you've forgotten your rosary beads or when you can't pull the beads out over concern of what, the circumstances in which you are. You can still, using this method, you may still be able to pray. And just make sure to always do so in a safe and proper situation, Hope you like that. And thanks for subscribing and liking my videos. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.